Hey guys, Fourfinger here, and I finally dropped the patch note for 0.3 last night, and for all of you that have watched the stream, you've noticed how much content they added in this patch. It's absolutely huge, and whenever we get this much content, you can expect to see some broken things. So with that being said, let's just jump into a couple of those that I've noticed that are probably gonna be really strong in this patch. So the first thing I wanted to cover is actually going to be quality of gems. And if you guys remember in patch 0.1 and 0.2, we didn't have that many sources of gem quality, obviously outside of the Gemling Ascendancy on the Mercenary, but thankfully with the addition of 0.3, there is many other sources that you can use and actually break the game on some skills. Now keep in mind, this is not only going to break some skills, this is going to be an overall buff to your character because quality is going to buff all your gems, not just one. So like if it's a global quality increase, every single spirit and skill gem that you have socketed will be buffed. But let me just give you an example of how this works and how you can combine it with specific support gems and break the game. And keep in mind, if you guys want to check it out, you can see all of those on the database of PoE2 and then just check which ones you think you can break the game with. And keep in mind, there's a lot of changed one in the patch notes, so some of them got reworked or got the new additional stuff, so go check that out as well. But the base idea is, you have a gem that has 20% base quality, and you can get 3% if you corrupt it, so 23. You have the new lineage support, which can give you 10% quality to support gems. We have some stuff on the tree, we're not sure how much, we just know that there's one node which gives you 5%, and I assume small ones are gonna give you 1, but maybe not, maybe it's just 5%, it's not a big deal, even if you don't have 10, it's more than enough to break the game. Then you have 16% from the Gemling, which I don't think was reworked. I think all of those should still be 16%, so no changes there. We have Warrior Invictus, which drops from Arbiter, which has 5 open socketables, and you can use stuff like Fox Talisman, although this is really expensive, but then again, if you want to break the game, put some investment into it, right? This can give you 10% quality, if you put like 5 of those. And then there's also a, let me move my camera, this new unique belt, which gives you items, game bonuses from socketed items as though it was body armor or helmet or something else. So if you find one for body armor, and I think this rolls up to 100%, you can gain additional 8% quality. Although that probably will be really expensive and kind of an overkill, but let's just say that it's possible. Now, if you combine all of those together, you have 23%, like I said, from the gem, you have 10%, assuming 5 or 10 doesn't matter, from the skill tree, you have 10% from the desire support gem, you have 16 from gemling, you have 10 from the body armor combined with Fox Talisman, and then you have 8 from the unique belt. With all of those combined, you have 77 quality, which is really OP, but then you can combine with stuff like Perpetual Charge and some of specific like quality types. For example, Flicker Strike, for every quality that you have, you gain 1% chance not to remove charge and use. So with 77% quality and 35% from the perpetual charge, you have 112% chance to not consume. So obviously we have 12% over the cap, so we can drop something wherever we want and still have enough. So I just think this is gonna open up some crazy possibilities, like I said. And even if it doesn't, just getting like 40 or 50 quality with like lower investment is going to be like a huge boost to your build. So that's pretty much it. But yeah, let's go on to the next one. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is pretty straightforward and obvious, and it's Rakiata's flow. Whoever played PoE 1 knows how OP this is, but basically it makes your hits on monsters invert their elemental resistances. So if you're fighting a boss like Hirst, who has 75 to all res, he's going to have minus 75 to all res. So imagine if you had a support gem when fighting pinnacles that gives you 75% all pen, and 75% more damage. You can see how insane that is, and for those reasons I think this is either gonna be like super rare, like a mirror teardrop, or it's going to be like some special kind of completion reward. For example, like we had with Temporalis, maybe it might be something like that, but whatever the case is, this is just gonna be really OP. And yes, there are a couple of bosses like that have negative res, and in that case it's going to buff them, but all of the pinnacles don't have that, so we don't really care about that in the end game. So obviously for leveling it might have some downsides on certain bosses, but overall it's just crazy. It's just really OP, and not much more to say about this one, honestly. So the next thing I want to talk about is something that I was asking for probably for last 5 months, and it finally found a way into the game, and it's items with inherent skills can now rarely drop with skill levels up to level 20 in high tier maps, obviously. So if you guys remember all of those weapon connected skills like Freezing Charge, Chaos Bolt, and all of those abilities that came from uniques, the maximum level possible was 19, so having one level less wasn't a huge deal. They also obviously couldn't be corrupted to 21, so it was actually 2 levels. Then there was a problem of Arbiter didn't drop +3 unique duel for those skills. And then on top of it, they didn't have the 6 link support because they were only level 19. With this, not only do they get an additional level, I think this is also gonna open up additional last support link, which is going to make them 6 linked. So stuff like Mjolnir, which was already really strong, is gonna be even stronger, and there's a lot of uniques who are gonna benefit from this. And keep in mind, this is not gonna be that OP because it's gonna be super rare and expensive. Because getting the Mjolnir, which is already rare, and then also dropping it as level 20 is probably not gonna be that common. And then you're also gonna have to roll for it to get the right level of skills. It's gonna take some currency, that's for sure, and that's why I think it's going to be fine. Even though something becomes OP, it's gonna require a lot of investment, which is perfectly normal. So yeah, that's the third one. So when it comes to ascendancies, they obviously made a lot of changes, but the one that stood out the most to me is definitely going to be Deadeye. Like, Deadeyes were always amazing league starters, they were always great in endgame because of their movement speed from Tailwind and extra projectiles and stuff like that, so they were always solid, but in this patch I think they're just gonna be broken OP, and all of the bow Amazon players are probably coming back home to play Deadeye again, because Amazon got a small crit nerf, while the Deadeye got a rework of the Eagle Eye notable. Now instead of giving you no penalty at distance, it's gonna give you 10% base crit. I mean, basically it's giving you 20 stacks of the critical weakness, which translate into 10% base crit, and that's gonna make it so much easier to reach 100% on bosses. And not only that, you can probably drop pinpoint support and put something else in for more damage. I think it's gonna be really strong. And then the second thing that I kind of don't really like that happened is that mark skills are no longer spells, which means you can no longer use the chain reaction between Herald of Thunder and custom freeze with the voltaic mark. I really love that, but sadly that's gone. But thankfully for Deadeyes, they are also going to rework this Ascendancy, which used to give you an additional mark. Now instead, it's going to give you new Cold Shots meta skill that repeatedly marks enemies near you. And I'm not sure how often this is going to happen, like if it's every second or every 5. If it's like often, this can be also amazing for clear. We'll see, and I assume this also works on bosses, so you can constantly proc like the 20 stacks to keep that 10% base crit. So those are some things that are really obvious. But then on top of it, everybody can invest a lot into evasion and then pick deflect on 3 and reach 100% deflect. And I think this is going to be fairly easy on Ranger, especially with Tailwind, which gives you 150% increased evasion on top of everything that you have on the tree. So if you do reach 100%, you're looking at 40% damage reduction, and then you also have 30% from Tailwind. Now obviously those are not additives, so if you get 30% less from the Wind Ward and then get 40% less damage from the the deflection, you are looking at 58% damage reduction, which is really strong, and this is against everything: elemental, AoE, hit, physical, everything. So not only are they going to be zoomy, not only are they going to be really good damage-wise because of the base crit, they are also going to be really tanky, I believe. And on top of all of this, how would I build this? Well, I would probably still pick those 4 nodes, and then I would pick the crit and the Mark 1, depending how the good Mark 1 is. Because like I said, we still don't know how well and how often this will proc. If it's good for clear, I'll probably pick this. If not, we are just getting the more damage. And then you might be asking, well, what about extra projectile? To be honest, we have a lot of extra projectiles in the game now. You can get you have one which is base, you can get additional one from the twin bow, that's 2, you can get 2 on suffix, that's 4, you can get 3 sockets if you want to put 3 extra ones, which is 7. You don't really need 1 additional projectiles, it's not gonna make that big of a difference. So instead of getting 10% base crit, good defenses and maybe good clear is probably gonna be a lot better. So yeah, Deadeyes are looking really solid. I'm actually also not sure what they're gonna do. There's also this new node, Notable, which makes your elemental damage leech mana, so you can probably even do some crazy life mana build with mind over matter and stuff like that, or maybe just put a few of those damage taken as mana nodes on top of it. It could be really interesting. I think Deadeyes are gonna be great. So that's just my 2 cents on the Ascendancy. So thank you all for watching, I really do appreciate the support. I'm gonna start upgrading my old builds and making new guides, because a lot of them got huge buffs. Like Rolling Slash build got a huge buff, I'll explain that in a separate video. The Infused Weapon build might still be really OP and a great league starter. And I'm also gonna start making leveling guides and what build should be best for each class. So yeah, if you guys like that kind of stuff, stick around and I'll see you guys soon.